Hi, this is Jaya. In this video, we shall see the summary of Elegy written in a country churchyard by Thomas Gray. Thomas Gray was born in England in 1716 and died in 1771. He first published this elegy in 1751 anonymously, that is, without mentioning his name. But later on, this became one of his most famous poems and also one among the most well regarded poems written in the 18th century England. This poem takes place in a graveyard in the English countryside. It begins just as it's getting dark. The church bells toll, a herd of cows and a ploughman pack it in for the day. But the speaker here stays in the cemetery. It gets darker still. A beetle flies about, an owl hoots at the moon from a tower covered with ivy vines. Then the speaker describes the graves beneath the cemetery trees and imagines what the people in the graves will no longer do. Since they are dead, these dead men will no longer be woken by daybreak, swallows, roosters, and horns. They will no longer return home and be greeted by wives and children. They will no longer farm the land. The people buried in the cemetery are lower class and their graves are not elaborate. But he says we should not look down on them because ambition, achievement, power, beauty, wealth, and fame do not save anyone from death. No matter what humans accomplish in life, everyone dies one day. The speaker also argues that the men buried in the churchyard might have had a great deal of artistic talent but simply did not get the opportunity to use it. Moreover, the speaker acknowledges that plenty of famous people with fancy graves, for example, the English statesman Oliver Cromwell, have blood on their hands. The dead in this churchyard might not be written about in history books, but they also haven't committed terrible crimes. Finally, he urges that it's natural to die, and looking at nature teaches us about death. This gets a speaker thinking about his own death. He imagines, after death, someone else standing in the graveyard and asking what happened to him. And he envisions a white haired shepherd telling this new visitor what he knows. In this imagined conversation, the old shepherd describes seeing the poet every day walking around and enjoying nature. Then one day, the shepherd doesn't see the poet. A couple days after that, the shepherd sees the poet's funeral. The conversation ends with the shepherd telling the visitor to read the epitaph on the poet's grave. The visitor does this, and the poem ends with the epitaph. The poem goes like this. The curfew tolls the knell of parting day. The lowing herd wind slowly over the lea. The ploughman homeward ploughs his weary way and leaves the world to darkness and to me. Now fades the glimmering landscape on the sight, and all the air a solemn stillness holds, save where the beetle wheels his droning flight, and drowsy tinklings lull the distant folds. Save that from yonder ivy mantled tower the mopping owl does to the moon complain of such as wandering near her secret bower, molest her ancient solitary reign. Beneath those rugged elms that yew trees shade, where heaves the turf in many a mouldering heap, each in his narrow cell for ever laid, the rude forefathers of the hamlet sleep. Hamlet means village, and here he says rude forefathers because the cemetery is there for so many years, and therefore the forefathers of the people in the village are lying there dead. The breezy call of incense breathing moan, the swallowing twittering from the straw built shed, the cock's shrill clarion or the echoing horn no more shall rouse them from their lowly bed. So he says, nothing is going to wake them up hereafter because they are in their permanent sleep. For them no more the blazing hearth shall burn or busy housewife ply her evening care. No children run to list their sire's return or climb his knees the envied kiss to share. Oft did the harvest to the sickle yield, they furrow oft the stubborn globe has broke. How jocund did they drive their team afield? So he says, hereafter there will not be anyone waiting for them at home. Children waiting to climb on him and fight to share the kiss which he is going to share with the children. Or they need not come and farm the land which they own. How bowed the woods beneath the sturdy stroke! Let not ambition mock the useful toil, their homely joys and destiny obscure. So he says, we should not laugh at this simple life. Nor grandeur here with a disdainful smile the short and simple annals of the poor, the boast of heraldry, the pomp of power, and all that beauty, all that wealth ever gave awaits alike the inevitable hour. So he says, whether you are a beauty, whether you are a powerful person, whether you are a wealthy person, whatever it is, nothing can stop that inevitable hour, that is your death. The path of glory led but to the grave. Nor you, a proud, impute to these the fault, if memory over their tomb no trophies raise. So he says, don't blame these people if in their tomb nothing great is written. Way throng the long drawn eisel and fretted fault, the pealing anthem swells the note of praise. Can storied urn or animated bust back to its mansion call the fleeting breath? So he says, whatever you have had in your living time, can it ever come and stop the breath being stopped from you? One day your breath has to get stopped. Can Honor's voice provoke the silent dust of flattery, soothe the dull cold ear of death? Perhaps in this neglected spot is laid some heart once pregnant with celestial fire, hands that the rod of empire might have swayed or waked to ecstasy the living lyre. Maybe one among the people who are lying down in this small village would have had the power to do great things in their life. But knowledge to their eyes, her ample page, rich with the spoils of time, did never unroll. Chill penury repressed their noble rage and froze the genial current of the soul. Maybe they did not know or did not get an opportunity to show that talent out and become a great person. Full many a gem of purest ray serene, the dark unfathomed caves of ocean bear. Full many a flower is born to blush unseen and waste its sweetness on the desert air. So he says, not only human beings, even the things which are born in the sea, even a flower which is equal to the flower all over the world, sometimes will waste its sweetness in the desert air because no one notices the flower in the desert. But does not underestimate the flower. The beauty of the flower or the fragrance of the flower is the same, whether it is cherished by others or whether it grows unseen and fades away. Some village Hampton that with dauntless breast the little tyrant of his fields withstood. So mute inglorious Milton here may rest, some Cromwell guiltless of his country's blood. So who knows these people would have become, because they would have had the talent even of Milton. They would have been a great person like Cromwell, but Cromwell is not someone whom we have to cherish because Cromwell has blood in his hands. But these village people are innocent. They did not harm anyone. So even though they were valiant, they had all the bravery, they did not make others to shed blood. The applause of listening senates to command, the threats of pain and ruin to despise, to scatter plenty over a smiling land, and read their history in a nation's eyes. They lot forbid, no circumscribed alone, their growing virtues, but their crimes confined, forbade to wade through slaughter to a throne, and shut the gates of mercy on mankind, the struggle's pangs of conscious truth to hide, to quench the blushes of ingenious shame, or heap the shrine of luxury pride with incense kindled at the muse's flame. They wouldn't have done something so that they could have become great. They would have had all the qualities of greatness. But these people led a very innocent life without harming others. Far from the maddening crowd's ignoble strife, their sober wishes never learned to stray along the cool, squattered vale of life. They kept the noiseless tenor of their way. These people lived a very peaceful and a calm life. Yet even these bones from insult to protect some frail memory still erected nigh, with uncouth rhymes and shapeless sculpture decked, implores the passing tribute of a sigh. They name their years, spelt by the unlettered muse, the place of fame and elegy supply. And many a holy text around she strews, that teach the rustic moralist to die. For who to dumb forgetfulness a prey, this pleasing anxious being ever resigned? Let the warm presence of the cheerful day nor cast one longing, lingering look behind. Or some fond breast the parting soul relies, some pious drops the closing eye requires. Even from the tomb the voice of nature cries, even in our ashes live they wanted fires. For thee, who mindful of the unhonored dead, dost in these lines the artless tale relate. If chance by lonely contemplation led, some kindred spirit shall inquire thy fate. Happily some hoary-headed swain may say, oft have we seen him at the peep of dawn, brushing with hasty steps the dews away, to meet the sun upon the upland lawn. There at the foot of yonder nodding beech that reaches its old fantastic roots so high, his listless length at noontide would he stretch and pour upon the brook that babbles by. So he thinks about himself like after he is dead. And if someone like the poet standing now comes and stands there and asks someone who's passing by, maybe a shepherd, about the poet showing the tomb, and at that time the shepherd may recollect seeing the poet wandering in that place, looking at nature and taking a rest in the afternoons and spending his time along with nature. Hey, by yon wood, now smiling as in scorn, muttering his wayward fancies he would rove, now drooping, woeful, wan like one forlorn, or crazed with care, or crossed in hopeless love. One morn I missed him on the customed hill, along the heath, and near his favourite tree. Another came, nor yet beside the rill, nor up the lawn, nor at the wood was he. The next with dirges due in sad array, slow through the churchway path we saw him borne. Approach and read, for thou canst read the lay, graved on the stone beneath yon aged throne. And suddenly the shepherd missed the poet for 2 days. And of course, the poet came after 2 days, not by walking and admiring the nature, but he was carried and he was buried here. And then the shepherd tells the person to read what is written on his tomb, because the shepherd could not read. And the epithet on the tomb says like this: here rests his head upon the lap of earth, a youth to fortune and to fame unknown. So here they say, here is a person lying in this earth, and he was a youth to fortune, and fame did not know him. He was not a famous person. Fair science frowned not on his humble birth, and melancholy marked him for her own. He was not very famous, science he was not great. He had a very simple birth, and he lived a life of melancholy. Large was his bounty and his soul sincere. Heaven did recompense as largely sent. He gave to misery all he had, a tear. He gained from heaven, it was all he wished, a friend. And what happened is he lived a life where he had a lot of misery, and what he wanted from heaven is what he wished, and all he wanted was a good friend. No father seeks his merit to disclose, or draw his frailties from their dread abode. They alike in trembling hope repose, the bosom of his Father and his God. And it says, here lies the person who lived a very simple life, and now he is in heaven with God. Here ends the poem. And if you have anything more to add on to what I've said, please write it in the comment box. Like the video, share it with your friends, and if you have not subscribed my channel, please subscribe and support. Thank you.